EDL 850 case study, copyright and computer regulations governing technology. Case summary. As a result of very limited funding and demand for software, St. Regis School's librarian/computer lab overseer has been caught pirating software for 6 classroom computers. The librarian had good intentions and was trying to save money, but didn't realize the legal ramifications. One of the teachers, who was hired from another school district recently, was uncomfortable with the situation and has reported it to me, along with her concerns. The legal and ethical issues that come with that. The first is the violation of the law. So we have computer software copyright law. You can make backup copies of computer software, even CD-ROMs, and make a single backup copy of computer documentation, but you may not network software unless it is licensed for networking, and you may not exceed your license limitations for software. Backup copies means like one, but a bunch. We're getting into a problem here. So, and then the ethical issues. So with the breach of copyright law, a teacher has been put in an uncomfortable and an inequitable situation. This can make for a working environment that can deal potential harm to students, teachers. When you have an upset person, it can cause a lot of problems. Ethical issue number 2, the school policies and the AUPs. The school seems to be lacking any policies regarding technology, let alone an appropriate acceptable use policy. This is something that a school should always have implemented to protect themselves from these sorts of situations. The bottom line, St. Regis School is in need of better technology policies, an AUP, and a creative strategy for legally obtaining appropriate educational software. Facts. Regarding the librarian has been pirating software from the lab for use on classroom computers. While she had good intentions, she has unwittingly broken the law and potentially put the school in jeopardy of a lawsuit. Facts about the teachers. Most of the teachers went along with the librarian's scheme and accepted the software, aiding in breaching copyright law. A single teacher did not accept the software and has approached me with concerns about the breach of copyright. This has created some potential ethical issues regarding work environment and use of technology. Students and parents. The parents and students have worked hard fundraising to purchase the computers and software that have been pirated. There is a potential ethical issue here and the possibility of obviously upsetting them as well in terms of a breach of trust with these community members. Places. The computer lab. The school has a computer lab of 20 computers that's fully stocked with all the software and the licenses and everything. It's an excellent resource to meet the needs of the teachers without breaching the copyright laws. Classrooms. The 2nd and 4th through 4th grade classes each have a computer that teachers wanted to use to bring the lab software to the classroom. However, these computers now have pirated software on them. They are still potentially a useful resource if we can legally outfit them with software. Program. 2nd and 4th grade classes in a rural public school of 420 students are wanting to utilize computers in the classroom to supplement the regular curriculum. Funds are very limited by meager state funding and 2 annual fundraisers. However, it seems the community is very supportive of the school's technology upgrades. Case review. Review and considerations. If we continue on with pirated software, there is potential for a lawsuit and a loss of money that could be greater than the cost of the software. Parents and students have worked hard for the money to purchase the computers, and a potential lawsuit would be unfair to them and would alter the student's education. Parents and students have not been consulted, but this should be a consideration when thinking of a solution. I'm unsure of the types of software that have been pirated and what alternatives may exist. This is something that we need to know about and to research, because there may be some solutions here. And then a final decision on the matter will involve some more research into the situation in the form of meetings and information gathering. Possible courses of action. Option 1. We can continue on our current course of action. If we do this, we are hoping to be able to hide basically within our small community and use these pirated softwares. Moving forward from here, we could try to get some better policies in place and discuss all those with the stakeholders. And then teachers would also need to be educated about copyright and asked to not pirate software in the future so that we can move forward and try to not have that happen again. Option 2, we end the pirating, immediately remove the software from all the computers and discuss with all stakeholders a course of action moving forward. This would include potentially fundraising for the software, the possibility of alternative and maybe even free software, in service to educate teachers about the dangers of copyright infringement and how they can work within the laws to meet their needs. We should probably also discuss the possibility of finding funds to pay someone to be in IT at the school to help prevent this from happening in the future. Finally, there needs to be a considerations of reprimanding the librarian for her actions. Option 3, put out the fires before the need to get any stakeholders other than the teachers involved. Have a meeting with the teachers and discuss what softwares have been pirated and search for potential alternatives that are free or less expensive. Remove all the pirated software in the meantime. Have a discussion with the librarian about her actions and let her know to discuss these sorts of decisions with me in the future so that we can try to prevent this from happening. Option 4, remove all pirated software from the computers. Discuss with the teachers what their software needs are, considering potential alternatives. Inform parents and students in order to discuss the possibility of further fundraising to purchase the necessary software licenses. Have an in-service for teachers to educate about copyright in order to prevent further infractions. And then, again, have the librarian report to me regarding all computer software related needs just to make sure that, we're keeping everything kosher. Option 5, remove all pirated software from the computers. Discuss with teachers what their software needs are and consider potential alternatives. Inform parents and students in order to discuss the possibility of further fundraising to purchase the necessary software licenses. Have a meeting with all stakeholders to begin creating an acceptable use policy. And have an in-service for teachers to educate about copyright in order to prevent further infractions. Evaluation of these options. Option 1. We are a small community and this is a matter of only 6 computers with pirated software. It may be a slim chance that we get caught, but it is a chance nonetheless. A simple in-service about copywriting and pirating is probably not enough to prevent this from happening again. Also, the teacher who brought this to my attention will probably continue to be unhappy. This is probably not going to remedy that issue. Considerations on option 2. Some of these actions are good, but reprimanding the librarian is probably a bit harsh and unnecessary. Paying an IT professional is probably not feasible or worth our time, as this can be dealt with other ways. And then fundraising for the software may or may not be an option as well, depending on the cost per license. So this is probably going a little bit far. Option 3, put out the fire. This could be a lot bigger deal than it is. And so handling all of this within the confines of the school is not a terrible idea. Discussing the needs of the teachers may be able to save us from fundraising if we can find cheaper or free alternatives. No matter what, the software has to go. I feel this doesn't go far enough in terms of educating the teachers, installing a prevention policy. Option 4, discussing alternatives and leaving fundraising on the table as well allows for options, which is a good thing. Educating the teachers is good, and ditto having oversight for the librarian, although overseeing the librarian may also be cumbersome. This option doesn't go far enough with prevention either. Option 5, leaving both the option of fundraising and looking into alternative software on the table is the best way to go. However, I wonder if the parents and teachers absolutely need to know what has happened. Prevention of future issues is key, and an AUP will be a great option here, as it possibly covers my issues with the librarian as well. In service for teachers is also a big help. Final verdicts. Option 5, remove all pirated software from the computers. Discuss with the teachers what their software needs are and consider potential alternatives. Inform parents and students in order to discuss the possibility of further fundraising to purchase the necessary software licenses. Have a meeting with all stakeholders to begin creating an acceptable use policy, and have an in-service for teachers to educate about copyright in order to prevent further infractions. I feel this is a solid option, so let's discuss why. Putting the pieces together. The stakeholders and their liability. This offense could be far bigger. There is no need for any of the teachers or the librarian to be reprimanded. This is an issue of educating and finding solutions. Part 2 of that, consultation. All stakeholders will be consulted. We can approach in a positive way and say, hey, we need to purchase more software. Is fundraising an option? If not, let's look for alternatives. And finally, as we are growing our technology, it is becoming necessary to consider adding an AUP to our policy. Other options on the table. Getting creative. There are so many alternatives for nearly every software out there. How necessary is it that we have this specific software? If we are talking about word processing, for example, let's use Google. If we are talking about photo imaging, let's use Pixlr. There's so many possibilities that we may not need to incur any cost at all. And so the potential to actually save money is there as well. Education. So in service and understanding copyright law, what schools are allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do is extremely important. And therefore, I feel it is worth using in-service time to educate my teachers on this subject. This will prevent further issues from arising too, hopefully. Looking at policy, it doesn't seem like we have an AUP. So, but we've hit a point in accumulating technology where we need to implement an AUP and to make all stakeholders aware and accountable for their usage of technology in the school. This will help prevent further incidents as well. Conclusion. We need a happy workplace, so educating and implementing necessary preventative measures is the best way to keep everyone happy. Pirating software is really not a good idea, and I feel that if we can't fundraise for licenses for our current software, then there are plenty of alternatives available. If we move forward in a positive and respectful manner, this is nothing but a win. Implementation. So moving forward, this is what it'll look like. So the first step I would take is meeting with the teachers to discuss the need to remove the pirated software and what type of softwares that they are in need of. We would also start to explore the possibility of alternative softwares and how we can make this work. That or potentially using the lab that we do have and finding ways to make that work out better. Second, I would have a meeting with the parents and students who are part of the fundraising organization, and I'd let them know that we have growing concerns and to discuss the possibility of having a third fundraiser to purchase necessary licenses. Third, I would raise the need and begin discussion about creating an AUP with all of the necessary stakeholders. So that would probably hit those couple of meetings and maybe some others until we get to the point where we have that put together. Fourth, the next available in-service, I would set aside time to educate about copyright law and how teachers can meet their needs without breaking the law. And then finally, I would implement the new AUP and ensure that all the teachers have the decided on software on their computers. If this somehow fails, I would resort to a more comprehensive option like number 2, where more policies are installed, where the offending parties would be reprimanded if necessary, and maybe even have more education on the issue, use more in-service time if necessary. I would also do whatever I could to find funds to hire an IT professional to oversee our computer needs, as at this point it might become necessary. This would mean all software installations would be performed by IT, and therefore no one else would have the ability to install software, which means that there's some control over that.